Hi, I'm Cameron Carson. I'm here with ESFI, and we are at the WCS Season 3 Grand Finals. I'm here with iNcontroL and the producer of the brand new esports documentary that focused on 3 EG players, iNcontroL, Idra, and Huck. And we're just going to have a quick interview and talk about a little bit about the documentary. It does air tomorrow night in Canada on Global, so if you see this before then, make sure you check it out. It's from 8 to 9 p.m. Okay, so I just want to ask quickly, there's obviously going to be a lot of footage that you guys did not use in the documentary. A lot of emotional stuff. Is there anything that didn't get included that you wanted to make sure was included? And you can both answer the question.
I haven't seen it, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
Geoff hasn't seen it yet. Well, it's one of the toughest things when you're in the edit suite and you follow these people around for, we followed you guys for over a year. So there's lots of things I would love to see in there. There's lots of stories, lots of experiences that we had, but at the end of the day, it was really about telling the story for each of the characters for an audience that maybe has never heard of esports before and not getting too complicated. So definitely a lot.
Is there any specific one that you could tell us about?
On the spot, man. Actually, there's a whole bunch of stuff. I learned a lot about women in esports.
Okay.
And that was sort of an area that I was really hoping that we could touch on more and really talk about more. Unfortunately, we touched on it briefly, but not as much as I would like to.
Okay.
But I'd say that was one section that was hard to lose.
Now, you both did a lot of media appearances today, especially Geoff, you were on Good Morning Canada this morning. How did those appearances go for you? Was the reception to esports and yourself really good, or how did it go?
Yeah, I always find it really interesting because no matter where I'm at, the same kind of questions come up when more mainstream media or people outside of gaming start to ask questions about, you make money to do that? How are you able to speak coherently? Like, how does that happen? So that they're very interested because, and this is one of kind of like mission statements, everyone has their preconceived notions and stereotypes about gamers and gaming, and a lot of that is based in truth, but I feel like what's really cool about what we're doing here is, and the documentary shows this, is that these are people, evil geniuses and otherwise, that have taken this to the highest levels, and in order to do that, they need to be fully functional human beings playing at the highest levels, but also trying to, at this stage, it's almost funny, you're kind of like a mobile preacher of gaming. You have to be like, hey, I'm not dying, I'm a good human being, and I care, and I'm worldly, and I've traveled, and this is a healthy place that you can go. Because I think if gamers were the stereotype through and through, if they were just like, my mom's paying for lunch this evening and I'm 29 years old, like if that's the story that's going around, I think gaming would be held back even further because it wouldn't be a productive thing for people to do.
Right. Was the reception good on all the appearances today? What was the feedback from people mostly?
With my background and having been raised on the internet, I was kind of hoping I would get that one host who's like, listen, my son plays GoldenEye, and I saw him shoot a man in the face. Explain it. I was waiting for that kind of angle.
Right.
But what we've done with Global TV and News Talk 1010, in the various printed publications, they've actually been really more interested in this otherworldly experience that is professional gaming, as opposed to tying it into what's on the news all the time, which is just,
Right.
You guys are holding yourselves back, there's violence, et cetera, et cetera. So the reception's been very good.
Right. Talking a little bit more about the documentary, I know you said you haven't seen it yet, but if there was one thing that you said to yourself, I hope that's in there, I want to make sure that scene is in there, what would it be?
All right. I was hoping you wouldn't ask the opposite, because there is one thing that I actually asked her. I was like, don't put that in there.
We'll get to that.
Okay, very good, very good. As far as what made it in there, I think, when they filmed this was 2011, kind of tail end of 2010, 2011 mostly, and that was an interesting year for EG. It was a year where expectations were at the highest. We're going to tournaments. We've won a few with Idra. We brought on Puma. Puma was a big, high-powered player at the time.
Right.
So our expectations were very high, but that was a year of disappointment. Huck was having a tough year. Idra was having a tough year. I had another tough year. Like, it was not a year of high success. So I don't know if there's any one line that I'd like to have it in there, but I want people to see the human side to this,
okay,
so that they can appreciate and perhaps even connect with what's beyond the Twitter, what's beyond the stream, because we're all very brazen characters that have said one thing or another.
Right.
And I'm hoping they can see that we're not just a soundbite, we're humans as well.
Well, that's one of the things I kind of wanted to touch on as well. Obviously, it was a very emotional experience throughout the entire filming process. There are ups and downs in every professional gamer's experience. Were there moments that were really difficult for you to have them around and say, you know what, you guys really need to back off? And were there moments like that? Could you give us an example?
Yeah, I think Huck and Idra would have probably more strong answers on that one. But for me personally, there were a few times where, like, I'm hard for this question because I actually really appreciate the documentary medium. Like, I understand that they're going to be there, and what they capture could be of greater value to other people. So I was trying to be pretty selfless about that. But Anaheim, 2011, I think it was 2012. It was my most disappointing tournament. That was where I fell out of WCS before it was this former WCS to a player that I thought I should have beat. And then I was up on Suppy, but lost to Suppy. Like, I just did very poorly. And the second you lose, boom, there's a camera right in your face, because that's a moment they want to capture. But for me, at that moment, I was like trying to be selfless, but I wanted to just go crawl in a corner and die, and you can't do that when a camera's following you around.
Understandably. How was it for you filming the guys and making sure that, you know what, we did capture those moments, we did get the emotions and everything? Were there moments where you're like, oh, like, how is that for you guys filming?
Well, following these guys for a year and a half, like, we got close to them, and we also had a lot of really close and intimate conversations. And when we saw Geoff for that, moment that you spoke about, you have this push and pull feeling because a documentary filmmaker, you see something about to happen, you're like, yes, get in there, we have to get that moment. But we really like Geoff, and we knew that was such a tough moment for him, and we're like, do we want to back off? No, you can't get the camera in there, so, and that happened a lot. It was a challenging year, and often we just had to pull that camera in and try to capture it, because you spend hours filming waiting for a reaction. So.
Right. Was there any pushback at any times from any of the players, like, in those moments saying, you know what, can you guys please just leave me alone? And like, because I heard it's a very high emotion documentary, and it's actually like a real tearjerker, and that it covers a lot of stuff that most people don't get to see every day watching the streams, even coming to the events. They don't get to see that behind the scenes stuff. Were there any moments like that just kind of caught you off guard?
Well, let me think. I mean, we did actually get stood up for a few interviews where people just, something happened in their life and they didn't want a camera crew there at the time, and that's challenging for us when we travel around the world for it. But these guys are real people and they're going through real things. So, I mean, that definitely happened. There was a couple times when I think they had said, guys, can you turn the camera off? But for the most part, we were always amazed that they did let us, and you guys didn't really yell at us, which was surprising. So for the most part, no, but there were a couple moments, and we also always told them that we'd respect that. If there was a time where it was just too much, we'd ask too many questions, that we would back off, and it was sort of a level of respect that we had with these guys, and I think that worked throughout the process. So.
Just a couple more questions. What to you would be the biggest, most touching moment in the documentary that does get produced that people will get to see tomorrow? What was your favorite part of it?
Well, there's a few moments for me that are really powerful. There's a moment that you were speaking about, Geoff, where he lost in Anaheim, and it's a really challenging scene because you do feel for him, and it's further along in the documentary, and it's very emotional. That part is very, very powerful, and everybody reacts to it, that it's real. There's another scene towards the end of the film as well that I really love. I don't want to give it all away, but it's the one with Chris that is a really cool shot that we have. And there's so many little sound bites and snippets that we had to pull together from over a year of filming that I'm really looking forward to what other people respond to and react to.
Last question is just for Geoff. You talked about there was things that you didn't want to see in the documentary. Give us one. What was one that didn't want?
Fair enough. So I feel comfortable saying this because my parents will probably not see this interview. There's one moment where we were getting ready for the wedding, and we're in the house, and they were asking me questions about sex before marriage. Okay. And I had my mom over here, my aunt-in-law, Anna's aunt, there, surrounded by the women of the family. And I have this thing where once like a joke pops up in my head, it can stay there, but if I get like 2 words into it, it just kind of vomits from my face. Right. And everyone that knows me in StarCraft knows that sometimes it's not the best joke, actually. And this this was one of those moments that was the moment of all moments. I was trying to explain how when you're waiting until marriage, it can be like kind of like starving yourself for a really good meal.
Okay.
And for some reason, I talked about how I was eating salad up until my marriage, and then I like realized what I said and couldn't stop myself, and then said a salad eating joke afterwards. And my mom's right over there. And the worst part about it was she had a very serious like, it's a really good point. It's a good story. And I was like, oh, it died 1,000 deaths instantly. So afterwards, I went up to Erica and Steve and I was like, do not put that in there, please. And they were like, oh, don't worry.
Oh,
and I think Steven made a joke. He was like, oh, well, we'll see. Something like that. And you know what? It is what it is. Like, I did say that. So if it wasn't there, I would have to bite the bullet. But that's my problem. Sometimes I just vomit out words, man.
Well, I'm looking very much forward to the documentary tomorrow night, and once again, you can catch it at 8 p.m. on Global. It runs from 8 until 9, so this is Cameron Carson from ESFI signing off. Thank you very much.
Thank you.